views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Looking back at life as it's been before, holding on to things that might have been, knowing that this day will never come again, as my spirits guide.
And welcome to Soul Chat. I'm Jane McGuire.
And I'm Elena Risto.
And you remembered that today.
I did, considering the shape I'm in.
Yes.
I did. I think that's a good thing.
You've had a rough couple of days.
It's been an interesting couple of days.
So before we get started on our topic today, I wanted to tell everybody we actually have our first sponsor.
We do.
We do.
We do. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
so.
this is very exciting. This
is very exciting.
A woman that called in a couple of weeks ago, Cheyenne Foster. She's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And she has her own website up. It is synergyholistichealth.net. That's SYNERGY holistichealth.net. And Cheyenne is, I've known Cheyenne for 7 years. And she is a nutritionist. She is a Reiki master, a master herbalist, certified in aromatherapy, and just finishing up her HHP, holistic health practitioner. She is very good at working with people's diets, and she's also intuitive.
Yeah.
So it's a really good combination. So if you're interested in getting some nutritional advice or learning about essential oils or finding out about herbs, you can give Cheyenne Foster a call at 702-580-4343, or you can email her at synergyholistichealth, that's SYNERGY holistic, HOLISTIC, health at hotmail.com. And this can be, her kind of consultations can be done through email and over the phone and things like that. So if you're interested in improving your health, I can totally tell you that I vouch for this woman. Awesome woman. So
I'll probably call her 2 minutes after the show.
Right. And we are sending her some energy right now. She did get into an accident a couple days ago.
She did. Yeah.
So we're sending her some positive energy. So if all of you could just send some positive energy to Cheyenne Foster, I appreciate it.
In Colorado Springs.
In Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She's there's apparently she and the horse had some sort of disagreement, and the horse won.
Yeah.
So Cheyenne, we wish you well, and we wish you Godspeed in healing. So today, you actually the stuff you did over the last couple of days is totally pertinent to our topic today.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
So-
it's really good. But we probably should step back and recap a little bit from last week.
Yes. Last week we had the Art of Hand Psychology on.
Well, and it was supporting what we were talking about, how our bodies give us signals about where do we need to go on our spiritual path.
And boy, did you get some signals.
Whew. Yeah,
Yeah.
really did.
And I just worked on a client today that had a migraine for a while, and it was not actually a medical issue. It was appearing as a medical issue, but I did what I needed to do and crossed something over, and now there's no pressure on her crown.
Right.
And no stress in her neck, back, and shoulders.
Well, I got a good reminder that, especially in this workup, those of us that do this energy work, and if you are dealing with energy from the other side, that one of the things that you don't want to do is to have a lot of sugar.
Yes, see, you've broken a couple of rules.
I did, I really did, but
Yes.
then that's what I do. So
Yes.
we have a call coming in.
So our topic for today is ghosts, and if you have a ghost story, do we have someone on the line? We do have someone on the line. That's awesome. Welcome to Soul Chat.
Hi, this is Michelle on a recorded line. How are you doing today?
We're awesome, Michelle. What are you recording? You do realize you're on live radio.
I'm calling from the Daily Jackpot because you registered online for a free entry.
Michelle, may I interrupt for 1 minute, please?
No, let her go.
Okay. So that's awesome. We got a marketing call on live radio.
I think that's really interesting.
Right? This
Yeah.
is Mercury retrograde.
Oh, no kidding.
I was going to ask her if she had a ghost story.
I could haunt somebody right now.
Right. So you obviously signed up for something, George, because I didn't sign up
I
for that.
signed up for absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah, yeah. So who gets into your computer at night? Must
Yeah,
be
yeah,
a
yeah.
ghost.
See, and you got excited for nothing.
I know,
I
right?
know,
So
yeah,
I'll just
all
take
right.
it down a
Okay.
notch now.
Well, you did win something.
Oh, well, something. No, it
Well,
wasn't us. It was you, George.
So if you have a ghost story or a supernatural story that you're willing to share, you can call us at 702-609-7626. And if you can't call on that, you can go into your computer, go into Skype and type in the search bar All Talk Radio and call us through Skype. Now I know there's at least 10 of you listeners that have had a supernatural experience.
Everybody has
Yeah.
a ghost story of some
Yes, exactly.
kind. If all it was something walking into a room and the hair went up on the back of your neck, everybody's had something like that.
Or the lights flicker. That's a really common one.
I got a perfect light story.
Okay,
a
so
great light
so
story.
we're going to hear about her ghost story. So let's hear
Yeah.
it.
So it was probably about, oh gosh, I hate to say how many years ago. It was probably about 30 years ago, and I was with a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon.
Oh yes, I've been to Portland.
And it was on Macadam Hill,
Okay.
which is it's an older
Yep.
residential area in Portland. And her folks had rented a house, and they were gone, and we were basically just kind of staying there, and it's kind of built into the hill. And so you could sit in the front and watch TV and look out and see the lights. So the room was really long and narrow, and the back end of it was built into the hill. So we were watching TV, and we decided to turn the TV off so we could see the lights and watch the TV at the same time, right? So we turned the light off, and the light came back on. So then we turned the light off again, and we said, well, there must be a short in this switch. And the light came back on again. So we unplugged the lamp. A lamp in the back of the room came on.
Oh, you had somebody playing with you.
Something. We just kind of looked at each other and went, oh, okay, we're
And
not going to mess with that anymore.
And this is before you became a shamanic
Oh,
healer.
yeah.
So your knowledge of the supernatural and ghosts at that point was what? Probably a neophyte?
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew there was something. I
Yeah.
mean, I understood that there was something that you couldn't see and you couldn't, couldn't really hear. And yeah, so that was pretty trippy. We just looked at each other. We burst out laughing because at that point, what else do you do?
So
you know?
so there's probably some beliefs or myths about ghosts, and both you and I did some research. I checked well-known psychic James Van Prague, the creator of Ghost Whisperer,
Right.
actually,
Right.
and one of his friends, and they both agree that spirits or ghosts are people that have crossed over but are not in human form.
Right, and they're not. They haven't moved along.
Right. For
They're
whatever
st-
reason.
For whatever reason,
Right.
they have not moved along. So, and we decided to do this show because it's kind of the warm up to Halloween.
It's a warm up to next week, right?
Yeah. So, in the shamanic world, we are shamanic healers, shamans and shamanic healers. We work with the spirits of whether it's people on this side or on the other side. It doesn't really matter to us. We can work outside of time. So in shamanic terms, we work primarily, there's many worlds that we call it, but it's the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And the middle world is the spiritual side of this reality.
Okay.
So when you have someone who suddenly dies, or you have someone who's what we call their cosmology they don't really have a belief system. Maybe they're not in an organized religion. Maybe they don't have a belief about what happens after death. And if they have someone that is very emotionally attached to them, or they're very emotionally attached to that other person, and they don't want to let go, or we don't want to let them go. There's many combinations of this that can happen. Then basically what happens is they get stuck. Is the best way to say it.
And they can get stuck for many different reasons.
Many different reasons. And the other thing is that people say, like when I saw you, when I first saw you today, why can they be angry?
Yes.
Well, if they were angry in this life and it's unfinished business, its logic will tell you, well, if they don't understand. Many times when I'm working with them, part of the issue, and you've seen it happen, is that they don't understand that they're dead.
Yes, that's true.
And that is part of the ritual that happens, and we've talked about this several times on the show.
Right.
That's part of the ritual that needs to happen. It's not only for the people here, okay? It is for the person that's crossed over to understand the door's closed.
Yes.
This reality is not open to you now at this time.
Right.
So there's many things that can happen. And why did the light go on? What's going on? Obviously, at the very base level, you could say something wanted our attention.
Right, and it got it.
It got it.
It got it
really
temporarily,
did.
but then nothing happened
Yeah.
after that, right? When
Yeah.
you decided to ignore it.
No, nothing.
And then you hear about all these movies like the Amityville Horror and all this stuff that have
The Conjuring.
The
The Conjuring was
Conjuring.
the latest one.
there's some movies I can't watch.
See, I kind of got drugged to that one because I can't watch a lot of those either.
yeah.
Except that what I found was with The Conjuring, I was fascinated. I was absolutely fascinated.
Because you were
that was-
watching it from a spiritual point of view.
From a spiritual point of
Right.
view, but not only that, these were two people that had done this for years. Their archives and their records of how they do things are just now opening up.
Mhm.
And so this is a true story based on a family that bought a house, and after they bought it, things started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really angry spirit in there that was just not going to let go.
And there were stories about the cast that starred in the movie The Amityville Horror, how they, when they were filming it, how they could feel a presence or they could feel a shift in energy. And these are people that don't really talk about their intuition, but even people that don't acknowledge their intuition can still have these supernatural or paranormal experiences. And you and I were talking before the show. I've been choked. You know, I woke up with hands around my neck with nothing that was physically there, but I can tell you I was being choked. And
Right.
I've been hit. When I was living alone, I got hit in my bedroom. So that's why I posed the question to you, you know, if I haven't done anything to this ghost or this spirit, why is it choking me? Why is it slapping me? I didn't do anything.
First of all, you're assuming that they're logical.
Well, okay, people are not logical. I will grant you that.
Well, and spirit even less so, because
Right.
if they're, as you've seen when I've worked with people, that someone where the spirit of that or the ghost or whatever you want to call it has actually attached themselves. They're enmeshed with that other person, with the person in this reality
Right.
somehow. There is no logic going on there.
Right, because it's all emotion based or energy based.
Right. Right.
And you know, you're only, I would think, getting part of the story. When you're working with a spirit that you're either detaching or moving on, you're not going to get their whole life story. You're going to
No.
get probably the last hour or 2 hours of life that they might.
It depends. It's that thing about perception is reality again. So whatever perception they're locked in is what's going to be real for them.
Yeah.
Even in more so. And you know how the thought is, the esoteric thought here is that, you know, perception is reality, and so what you think, so it shall be.
Yes, but
know,
you need
so-
to have accurate perception. That's
Well,
the key.
And so what is accurate perception?
Seeing everything in the way it really is. I would think seeing the spiritual side and the physical reality side, but we're digressing from the topic.
Yeah.
So, but this is about people that, I mean, we're here in Vegas, and you got a list of
do.
the places.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for sure that the Boulder City Hotel is haunted. I've been in there, and I've felt things, and I've heard things.
I think that's the one where Tommy Thompson is supposedly his
well,
ghost.
I'll tell you
But
what,
here's
there's
his-
more than one ghost in there.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah.
And if you want to look this up, it's on hauntedplaces.org.
Okay.
And if you look on, I'm sure if you type in Las Vegas or Henderson,
Right.
of course I was in Henderson, so that's what they were showing me, so it was based on that. But the Luxor Hotel I thought was interesting.
Well, given the shape of the hotel,
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise
It's going to
me.
be, you just think of
yeah.
the shape of that would
with the
naturally
light
pull
at
it
the
in.
top, I'm sure, absolutely.
And Madame Tussauds in Las Vegas, that's not, I mean, you've got a wax image of somebody who has passed on.
Yeah.
So it's going to draw it.
So, right?
The Riviera, it's one of the
Yep.
oldest hotels now, you know, that's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah. La Palazzo Museum.
And
Our
I've-
mansion.
The mansion. Okay, I haven't been to the mansion, but I have been to
Right.
the museum, and it's since closed, I believe.
Right. And so then we have Boulder Dam Hotel. We have
Yep.
the Boulder City Hospital.
I know that to be true.
Yeah.
I know that is haunted. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And Hoover Dam.
Yes.
All of those make sense to me because there were sudden deaths that happened when they were building the dam.
Yes.
Of course, the famous myth is that somebody's buried in the dam. And if you sit and look at the video of where they show you actually how that didn't happen.
Well, my brother-in-law's late father actually worked on the dam.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the Army Corps of Engineers, but he never confirmed.
No,
that
because
story.
they only poured it in slabs
Yeah.
of so deep, so you couldn't physically bury a body in the
Right.
cement without. And the way it was built and the way they cooled it, it wasn't going to work that way. Now, did a lot of people pass out there from
Yeah.
heat exhaustion?
Well,
because
and this
it was
is
like
this is in the 1930s too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wasn't a sophisticated
No.
society.
No.
There wasn't that kind of knowledge about keeping yourself hydrated, even in the desert at that time. And
And
really
it's the guys, when they built the bypass tubes, there was a lot of
Yeah.
deaths that happened that way.
Yeah.
Then it was the guys that were scaling down the sides of the rocks and putting
Mhm.
the dynamite in. You know,
Mhm.
some of them fell to their deaths. So all of those are situations where all of a sudden they're gone. There is no
Right.
ceremony. There is
Right.
no family surrounding them. There is no, you know, it would be like somebody having an instant death in a car accident.
Right, because you know this is going into Lake Mead, and you're probably not going to find the body. Although they found about skeletal remains earlier, just a couple days ago,
Did they really?
in Lake Mead. Yeah, from
Wow.
a couple of hikers that I think that had gone missing
Oh, yeah.
a few months ago. So yeah, so the Hoover Dam or Boulder Dam, whatever you want to call it, that makes a lot of sense. Bonnie Springs.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah.
place out there.
I've heard a lot throughout the years about what they do on Halloween. They have psychics go
Right.
out there. They contact the dead. There's
This could be your new
seances.
job.
You know, I'm thinking, I might just head up to
You
Bonnie
should go
Springs
up there and
on
do that, yeah.
Halloween and see what's going on.
Yeah, and then Whiskey Pete's out at Prim, out at State Line.
I've never stayed there, but that wouldn't surprise me.
But I told you, they say that the spirit of Clyde, of Bonnie and Clyde,
Mhm.
is out there. Now, why he's there, I don't know, other than the shirt that he was wearing when they got shot. I've seen it. It's
Mhm.
hanging out there. So that brings something interesting. There is a bookstore in town called the Dead Poets Bookstore.
Yes.
Is that right?
Dead Poets Books.
Yeah, Dead Poets Books. And the first time I was in there, I just kept feeling like I just kept hearing things. you
Yeah.
know? And I finally looked at the owner, and I would catch things out. A lot of times you'll see them out peripherally.
Mhm.
You'll catch a shadow. And a lot of times I was sitting there and talking to the owner, and I said, you got a lot of stuff going on in here. There's a lot of energy going on in here. And she proceeded to tell me about this one time she was in the store all by herself. Nobody was there, and a book went flying by past her head and fell on the floor. And when she picked it up, there was like $80 that fell out of the book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So maybe
it's
I
good
need to go
spirit.
into that store and
Yeah, no
get some
kidding.
money.
But the other thing is I looked at her and I said, so do you get a lot of books from estate sales? And she
Mhm.
goes, oh, yeah, I just had a guy come in yesterday with, said his brother passed, and these were all of his books. So here comes
Mhm.
something that, who knows,
Yeah.
that's been attached to it.
I think it's always a good idea with estate sales and things like that, especially businesses like that are going to buy those, to cleanse them or bless them in a way that is familiar to them.
It's a pretty happy bookstore, though.
It's
have you
right, but
been
I mean,
in there?
but I have not.
It's really very interesting. It's very comfortable. It's like walking into Harry Potter's bookstore.
Okay.
So it's pretty comfortable.
So I have not been in there, but I probably should. I probably should check
Yeah,
that
you
out.
should check it out. So there are places, but one of the best places if you want to make contact with one is go into a cemetery.
No, thank you.
I don't have an issue
this
with
is,
that. But
And this is something that when I was growing up, we spent a lot of time in Napa Valley, and they have a pioneer cemetery there in Calistoga. And, Calistoga's maybe 5 or 6 square miles, it's 3 miles to town, which when I was young, you could walk to town. It wasn't a big deal. There weren't, it was in the 70s. So I would walk by, and I would always walk by the cemetery. You had to, because it was on the main road. And it would give me absolutely the heebie-jeebies. And I think that was, again, part of my intuitive life as a young child,
See, the cemetery where most of my family is buried is at the bottom of the hill. We had a long driveway, and the farm was at the top of the hill. And so I would walk past that every day to school. I had no problems in there.
Yeah.
I would actually go sit down by my grandparents' graves
There were times when
and
we
talk
would...
to them.
I'm kind of glad my parents are dead. They're obviously hearing this. But they found out when they crossed over on the other side. But there were times when I would go to that cemetery, and I'd have a friend over, and we'd walk down at midnight and, go play in the cemetery. And there were some weird things that happened.
So that's interesting, because so it would give you the heebie-jeebies. What is that all about?
I think, you're a kid of 11 or 12, you're not going to understand this kind of stuff. I had already had my first vision of a spirit coming to me at age 10, a couple of years earlier, and my mom convinced me there was nothing there when I knew that there was. So I think it was just sort of, it just scared me. I don't think this had anything to do with the Catholicism that I was blanketed in.
Because the truth of the matter is they're not going to be able to do anything. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to move something from that side
Right.
on this side.
Well, I think they didn't have to move anything. I could just, again, I'm looking back now and I'm thinking I was open at that time and I didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been ghost hunting. I went ghost hunting about 3 or 4 years ago, George? Yeah, about that, with a couple of people in town. I'm not going to promote them, but but I went and we went down to Searchlight, to the cemetery in Searchlight. Let me tell you, there's some heavy energy.
Well, and
In
that's the
that-
whole
in
thing.
that cemetery.
That's the whole thing. I've been in a room. I think I shared it once before. I've been in a room where we were doing. It was a training for sound therapy, for sound work, and I noticed that it got cold.
Yeah.
Really cold. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, and suddenly got cold. And I thought, oh well, maybe my blood sugar dropped or something. And then somebody on a table. There was like 8 tables. And somebody on the table said, "Man, it's getting cold in here." And all of a sudden, the other shamanic healer that was in the group, we all both looked at each other and went, "Oh, well now, we have something going on." It was an area up in Calgary, Canada, where there were a lot of tribes. A lot of First Nation tribes were up there. And what ended up happening is we ended up doing a ceremony for several people. For
Oh, I remember you
several
telling me
tribes.
about
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the room immediately warmed up when we're done.
And
So it's interesting. Cold, something you want to know if there's tips about. Am I dealing with? Am I really dealing with something that's a little quote supernatural or what's going on
paranormal,
or
yeah.
paranormal? You know, and one of the things is if you have that automatic response where the hair goes up on the back of your neck, you get sudden goosebumps, suddenly cold, but it's a really dank cold.
Yes, it is.
It's not like just like, oh, I got to put my
Yeah.
sweater on. It's different.
it's and this we've had this discussion before. When I lived in my house in Desert Shores, it would be 120 outside, and I'd be in there with 3 blankets on, unable to get warm, and
Yeah.
not knowing what was going on. And it wasn't affecting Gary. It wasn't affecting Natalie and Stephanie. It was only affecting me. Nobody else felt it. So what did I do? Of course, went and got myself tested for anemia.
Yeah, there's something.
So right, because some of these paranormal, supernatural things, you think, okay, well, this is a health issue,
Right.
and it really wasn't.
No.
You know, but I didn't know that at the time. I knew I was working with my intuition and doing all that stuff, but I wasn't into this aspect of the paranormal at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So people say, well, how do you protect yourself from that? Well,
Oh, we could do a whole show on that.
we could do a whole show on that, but I will tell you that my point of view is I would rather have people expand their inner light outward
Yeah.
than put up a wall.
I don't think it's about putting up a wall. I think it's about, for me, I call in Jesus and Archangel Michael.
But you're calling an energy that's going to make your energy bigger.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
See, so if somebody's energy and somebody's aura, if you're expanding that, it's very hard for dark energy to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other thing is when you have people, my way of clearing a house or removing something that's attached to people is I deal with that, whatever it is that's the problem,
Right.
like it's another client. So
Right.
when I'm done, they are crossed over.
Right.
I'm not just flinging them out in the universe until the next person walks by.
Right. Right. And like we said earlier, it doesn't really matter what the belief system is, because at some point you can work with it. And
Yeah.
that's been my experience also.
Yeah.
I can work with it. But it's interesting because every October, you know, the veil thins. We all look at October as a very mystical month because of Halloween and all this stuff. And then Hollywood, like they're doing this month, coming out with
All these blockbuster
all these
movies.
horror
yeah.
movies that will scare you. And I think they've got one coming out on Friday called Ouija.
Oh, no, see, the first experience I had that scared me to death was on the Ouija board.
Yeah, see, I used it once and that was enough.
That was it. I
Yeah.
actually took it out in the yard and threw it away.
Yeah. Oh, so now, well, great. So now you need to go back and bless that yard.
It was up at the farm. I just took it out and threw it in the trash.
I had a friend of mine, I haven't spoken to her in a while, my friend named Sherry, who used a Ouija board when she was in Hawaii. She was about 13, and a lot of people say, well, they're fake or they're this, they don't move on their own, everybody moves, little key thing. But they actually had a spirit come in and give them a location of a dead body. And within 24 hours, what the spirit had predicted had actually happened to my friend Sherry. And she was done. She was done. But again, that's doing that at age 13.
Right, and that's about the age that I was, and we were playing. Somebody had given it to me for Christmas which is an odd Christmas present.
That is an
if you
odd
think
Christmas
about
present.
it. But they'd given it to me because it was a game. It was in those
Yes.
days it was sold as a game.
Yeah.
So there's about 4 of us, and we get our hands on the whatever you call
Yeah.
that thing, and it's moving around, and all of a sudden it started spelling out a name, and it was Prince something or other, and what are you doing here? And I don't remember exactly what the thing was. As well, I came here because I want you to do something for me, and at that moment I got the energy. I got that. Wait a minute, this is not.
This
something.
is real.
This
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah.
I'm dumping this, and
Yeah.
so.
And
Yeah.
that can cause a lot of other issues that we won't go into today
Yeah.
because we don't have the time. But if you do have a ghost story, please do feel free to call in at 702-609-7626 or call in on Skype. Do we have a caller, George? No, he's shaking his head.
Yeah.
Now, I know, George, you've had some supernatural experiences with Cattell.
Yeah, years ago.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if she's still in this place, but
I
the
don't
old place.
feel her.
Yeah, I don't kind of feel it as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the old place. Yeah, she used to be
She
there.
was there.
This is after she passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cattell was the Vegas astrologer locally here for about 25 years and had a show. She was one of your original shows, right?
The very first show we ever
Yeah.
put on. Yeah.
Yeah, and so after she passed about, 4 years ago now, right? Yeah,
Wow, yeah.
about that. And she was pretty active in the other place.
Yeah, she used to talk to me all the time
Yep.
and leave messages and EVP stuff like that.
Yeah. And didn't somebody come in one time at the old station with an EVP camera?
Yeah, and caught her.
Yeah.
Actually recorded her voice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The bad part about it was because I just my wife had just left me at that time, and I had some problems going on. I said,
Mhm.
I was just talking to her. We left the thing running. I said, how bad is this really going to get? And all you heard was bad.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You have that
Yeah.
recorded somewhere?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is, and that brings up another thing. There are these wonderful shows, Ghost Hunters and stuff like that do use these special cameras that can pick up energy. And I was looking online at one of I think it was actually their website, and they had a 2-minute video. I don't know if you can find it. I didn't get you the link. But it was a woman in the basement doing her laundry, just, what other people would do. And she starts walking across. All of a sudden, she drops her laundry basket. And you see this black energy that's picked up from the camera, and it's pulling her leg. I mean,
Really?
she's got one leg in the air, and she's trying to pull her leg back, and it's pulling her leg, making her trip.
Right. Yep.
So there are some of these, and you can go on YouTube and stay on YouTube all day with this kind of a topic.
Oh, and it's fascinating. People have been fascinated with
Yeah.
this for hundreds and hundreds
Oh,
of
yeah.
years, you
Yeah.
know. And at one point in history, it was they totally believed it. I mean,
Right.
it was a common thing,
Mhm.
that's somebody's spirit, or that's,
Mhm.
especially in some of the old castles you go to. So have you been in some of the old castles in Europe?
I've been to, I haven't been to, I went to, yes, I went to the one in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Marie Antoinette, Versailles. I went to Versailles. And again, I was actually pregnant with my oldest daughter at that time, and it's my experience, and I'm going to say this just from my point of view, that when you're pregnant, I feel like you're actually more
Well,
intuitive.
the hormones are just they're totally
Yeah.
different. So it's
Yeah.
going to be you're going to be more sensitive
But
to
I
that.
was starting to understand a little bit more about empathy at that point. This is 1989, and I could definitely sense things in
Mhm.
Versailles.
Mhm.
That wasn't hard to.
I was in the Tower of London.
I was in the Tower of London. I could feel the twins.
I know.
I could feel. I walked into the tower, and I just wanted to burst into tears.
Yep.
But yes, I could feel the twin princes that were killed and tortured and killed in the Tower of London. There's a lot in the Tower of London.
Well, there's a lot of people that died. in the
Yeah,
Tower of
that
London.
place.
Not to mention
Yep.
incarcerated there for
Yeah.
forever.
A lot of torture that went on
Right,
there.
right.
Yeah. No, there's definitely. Yeah. No, I could definitely feel it there.
But if people want to know how to protect themselves, and really, the truth is it's very rare that they can do anything to you. I mean, there's for
Right.
those of us that do the removal, there's actually more danger to us in a lot of ways
Mm-hmm.
than there
And
is.
you just went. You
I
just got.
went-
You just got
I
that
just-
reminder.
I just got that reminder.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they can cause havoc. They can
Yes,
cause
they can.
They can cause problems. People can be sick. Sometimes if somebody's got a chronic illness, if somebody's having deep depression, if somebody's
Mhm.
hearing voices, if somebody's not.
Except I hear voices, but I'm a professional psychic.
Yeah. Well, there's one step between you and I and crazy. That's what it amounts to.
Shh, that's our secret.
You're the sanest crazy person I know, you know? Yeah. So, you know, they can cause problems.
Yeah.
There can be illness. Because if you think about it, there's your energy, and then if you've got somebody else's energy on top of you, it's like having added weight.
It is. It is. And
you know,
it's,
and it causes extra stress. And I mean,
Yes.
just from a logical point of view. But I've done removals. You've seen it, where all of a sudden the person's feeling, wow,
lighter.
the headache's gone, the whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the
So-
shoulder pain, the wrist pain. I've
Right.
I've done a lot of that. So protection, well, I do a few things. I wear my cross, obviously. It's not a normal cross, it's a triple cross. So so mine is a triple cross. I wear that. I visualize gold around myself. Not a lot of people would say the bliss bubble or whatever. I don't use the bubble, actually, and this was channeled to me. I visualize the gold literally on top of my skin. And because that's the highest vibration there is, that the color gold. I do some prayers. I do a lot of gratitude, actually. Gratitude is very much a form of protection.
Anything that you can do that you would naturally do anyway to make yourself shine more, to
Yeah.
make your aura be more whole.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so that there aren't holes in it. There really aren't. They're not holes. It's just if you looked at it, you would see, based on some of the images that we get off these cameras. There's the gas discharge camera now,
Yep.
you know, and so there's dips in it. So it's a little thinner in places than others. The better way to say it,
Yeah.
I think.
And
then there's
yeah.
and if you've been ill, if you've been really ill, and your energy is just naturally down, and all of your energy is in your body trying to heal, so your aura is diminished somehow.
Correct.
You know, now that's more of a way for them to get to you. And the other thing is, I was explaining this to somebody yesterday, that it's like when they get, especially if they don't know that they're dead. Okay. There's an inherent quality in them that they're looking for light. They're looking for the light. It's like a moth to a flame.
So they will come to the people with the brighter aura.
With a brighter aura. So that's it's like, oh, maybe that person, you know, knows the way. Maybe there's a door there with that person that they can come and go.
Right.
You know, and there is some thought that people with schizophrenia.
You've worked with some.
I've worked with some.
Yes.
This is not saying all people.
Right.
But some people. That what my experience is, it's like the doors are open and they haven't closed those doors to the other side. So it's that energy's coming back freely.
I definitely think my cousin Abigail she was schizophrenic, but I definitely think, given the intuition, she was on my Irish side, and her sister, my cousin, is also intuitive. I definitely think that was her problem, was that the intuition. I think that she had a lot of beings around
and a
her.
lot of people can't. They find it hard to live with. They find it really hard
Yeah,
to live
and
with.
let's be clear about this. I'm not saying that she was demonic
No.
or that she was
No.
possessed. I'm saying that she was intuitive and came into this life and you know, and had those doors open, and they weren't supposed to be opened. You know, my aunt was rather sick.
Right.
She was an alcoholic, and my uncle had a history of, we didn't know this until later, but there was a history of mental illness on his side.
Right. And so self-medication is going on with alcohol.
Right. Well, she was never an alcoholic, but my aunt was.
Right. So anytime you see that, sometimes people can't live with it. They can't live with the intuition. They can't live with they just want to stop it. They just don't.
Yeah.
They're not comfortable with it, so they start self-medicating. Anytime you self-medicate like that, your aura is, it's not
diminishing
supporting.
it.
You're
Right.
diminishing it. You're
Right.
not. So if you want to protect yourself from a situation, I mean, you hear a lot of things. There's putting salt around the doorways, and there's saging.
Saging, tobacco on the property.
Tobacco on the property will do that. What I do for me is I have a crystal on my table and when you first walk in my house, my client area is right when you first walk in. And I have a rose quartz crystal that sits there, and I take it out on a regular basis, and I actually condition it. I hand it. You know, I do a ritual and hand it to spirit and say, please condition this and let it attract any energy that's not divine, that's not going to be healthy, you know, and then I take it out and let the sun clear it.
Right, and that's actually a whole other other show of
a whole other show
dealing with crystals.
But just some ideas, you know, and the whole thing is, if you keep your vibration up, whatever you do to feed your spirit to keep your vibration at a high level, you're going to be less likely to have those kinds of things
Right.
happen.
And or you're going to be more likely to have it happen because you're ready for it and actually being trained for it.
Right.
And in our world, you journey, I meditate, you play the drums.
Right.
I play bowls, or I have a CD that I play. And I believe prayer is a huge thing, however you want to pray, because I know that I can feel the difference when I do that. But I have to say this too. Archangel Michael, he is non-denominational, so whatever belief system you have.
Well, all the archangels.
Right, but a lot of people associate him with Catholicism or Christianity. But doesn't work like that on the other side. But he is, and when you and I have worked together, we've both called him in.
Right. Yeah.
And
he's
so
the big dude.
He is the big dude. He is the big dude with the sword. So he's definitely a form of protection as well.
Right. Right. One of the things I do is I merge with my known power animal spirits.
Whichever one appears to you at that time.
Whichever one is
right.
usually what I'm working on at that time. And some people you can merge with angels. You can merge with them.
Yeah, I've
just
merged,
make sure they're an angel.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show, yeah.
So, but yes, and so what do you say about these Christian religions that say everything is demonic?
It's my experience that a lot of times the ghosts, the people that have passed on that are stuck, it's a natural part of the process.
Right.
And that there is a small percentage that it's not that it doesn't exist, it does.
Right.
But there's this tendency to call anything that they raises the hair on the back of their arms as, there's a demon in there, and there's no demon,
Right.
Maybe, but usually most of the time it's not.
Right.
It's just people that are just trying to get home.
Right, and we can let the angels deal with them.
Can let the angels, and
right.
Please understand, if somebody says, well, I'm going to now go start crossing people over, it's a whole, I don't want to say a training, but it's a
training.
It's a walk.
Yeah.
And it's something, and most of it is learning how to protect yourself.
It is.
And keeping your energy high.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is when I'm doing that work, I am not doing it. It's spirit that's doing it. And many times they have me parked off to the side. I'm the connection between this reality and that one, whatever it is I'm working on.
Exactly.
So it's not something about reading a book and going and
no,
it doesn't work like that.
If people wanted to get in to do this as a living, either as a ghost hunter or a medium or something like that, I would definitely say look in your local area and look for a teacher.
Yeah, and you have to watch that too, because it's not just everybody.
Well, the right teacher will appear.
The right teacher will appear, but you also need to look at what has this person done. You know, how did they come to know what they know?
Yeah.
You know, I've been studying this now for several years, and it's an experiential path. It's a spiritual path. It's completely spiritual path. It's not something it's not like a Ouija board. This is how you run a Ouija board. It's not that at all.
Yeah. No, it isn't.
And every case is different.
Because people are so different.
But
it's interesting how these beings will stay attached, like at the Boulder Dam Hotel. Why don't people go down there and cross them over? And when they cross over, they can come back.
Well, the way I do it, well, if they cross to the light, my experience is they're gone. Okay? But some people are just sweeping them out of the house. I mean, there's several things that you can do that will, but it's just putting them out into the world again.
Right.
So,
but then they come back.
But the other thing is, and I can only talk from my experience. My experience is one of permission-based. Even I have to ask them, "Are you willing to go? Are you willing? Why are you here? Are you willing to go? Do you understand that you're causing havoc? Is that really what you want to do?" They say, "Yes, that's really what I want to do. I want to cause havoc on this person. I want to get even." Now we got a whole different set of circumstances going on here.
Right.
That's gonna.
So they can attach to somebody that they feel a lot of rage.
A lot of rage to. There's a lot of emotion to it. There's a lot of if it's unfinished business, and especially if the person that the unfinished business is with is also an unfinished business. In other words, they're as captivated by it as the other. You could, out of love, you could keep somebody here.
Yes, and I've seen that. You and I have talked about this, which goes back to, was it Whiskey Pete's that has the shirt? Yeah. And so Clyde shows up there. I think, and as a society, we are so attached to all this stuff, and I think it's Buddha that says, try and not be attached to this life. I'm thinking maybe that's what he was talking about, was try not to have attachments.
Yeah.
Attachments to things, attachment to people. Let those that are going to cross over, cross over.
When there's a name involved in the rituals that I've done, when there's a name involved, when we're done, I always ask people, don't refer to them by name.
Yes.
Not so much that if you do that, they're coming back, but we just don't want to leave any kind of little light
Any residue,
cracking through the
right.
door. Because when I get done, I do my best to make sure that they're, and I have yet to run into it where it hasn't done this, but I make sure that they are sealed and gone.
Right.
Yeah, so
Because you
it's-
don't
they've
want you don't want the person staying attached to the story either.
No, I don't want them staying to the story. So back to ghosts, and of course, Ghostbusters was so much fun.
And they're
That mo-
remaking it.
Oh no!
There's going to be an all-female cast.
Oh no!
No, I think it's going to be hilarious. I loved the first and second movie.
Oh yeah.
I thought they did such
They got to
a
have
wonderful
Sigourney
job.
Weaver. They have to have her in that.
I know.
And one of them isn't Harold Ramis is the one that's passed now.
Yes. Yes.
Wouldn't that be?
That wouldn't it be interesting if
If
he
he
showed up.
showed up.
Right. And he could show up with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And now everybody's well dressed in Hollywood because Oscar de la Renta, that's on the other side. Oscar de la Renta
There's
just
a
died.
lot of good folks on the
So
other
there's
side.
going to be some well dressed spirits on the other side.
Yeah.
So
the other thing is why do they play tricks? Well, it's possible they're bored.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you be? If you haven't talked to anybody and,
But I would think, and you're talking about when they're in between dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because once you get over, there's stuff to do.
Well, I wouldn't know. I haven't been there yet.
Well, you
Well,
almost went.
that I remember, I don't know.
Right.
But that's the other thing is you had a pretty extreme case where you were feeling choked.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I could feel
But
hands on my neck.
Yeah, I just had a situation where there was a woman who, she was waking up. She'd wake up at the same time every night.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately what that ended up happening after doing a journey and after doing a journey and finding out and going to spirit and seeing what is going on here was that there was a grandmotherly Native American woman who was looking for her grandchildren. And that valley, but that particular valley up in Utah where this person lived, we found out later after it was all said and done, there was a population of Native Americans that had disappeared. And they didn't really know why. There wasn't anything verifiable evidence that whether there had been a giant massacre, whether there had been
Right. Anything's possible.
they had migrated. It didn't know. But this grandmotherly type was waiting, trying to find her grandchildren. And so what we did is I asked the woman, "Do you have a rocking chair in your house?" And she says, "Yes, I do. It's down in the living room." And I said, "So every night for the next 3 or 4 nights, we're going to burn a candle, and we're going to ask." We're making a place for grandmother to sit, and so she can call her children to her, and then we'll cross her and the kids and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. That's how
Good.
we did it. And then she hadn't been waking up. It's gone.
And the other thing too is also check to make sure that that's not a medical issue too.
Yeah.
We don't want to say everything in that aspect
No,
is going to be
it's not.
spiritual.
It's not. But if you have gone and gotten checked out, your hearing's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a bona fide case of mental illness, and
Right.
if you've tried everything, then it's time to call Ghostbusters.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a fascinating topic. It's kept humankind riveted for hundreds of years,
There's
thousands of years.
And I think it was A&E that had not only ghost hunters, but they had the show Intuitive Children or Psychic Children there for a while. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the little boy that relived his past life. So all of these things appear to be supernatural or paranormal, however you want to look at it.
What's interesting, what I find is it's amazing to me that the more I do this work, how many people will pull me off to the side and say, "Can I tell you about something that happened?" They won't say it. They don't want to say it too loud because they don't want anybody to think they're crazy. So they talk to a crazy person.
Right.
But they know that
I get
seems to
that
be
a
walking
lot.
around. Yeah.
I get that a lot. People will say, "Well, you're going to think I'm crazy." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Not after what I do for a living." No.
So this happened. And interestingly enough, there's been several houses that I have cleared that have had where the ghosts or whatever you want to call them have been attracted to the children. Now,
Yes.
mothers all of a sudden run to their children and they're worried
Yes.
that the children aren't going to be harmed.
Well,
You
I
know, and
actually had an interesting experience. So, as you know, I'm moving from the house to an apartment, and I was looking at the model of the apartment about a week and a half ago. And I talked to the landlady and I said, "You're having problems renting this apartment, aren't you?" And she said, "Yeah, nobody will take it." I said,
Is it the one you're moving into?
"No, it's the model of it."
Now, remember what Mary Rose said about you. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you're going to move.
I don't want to give that energy. But no, it was the model of the one where she had moved a couple people out. She kicked one guy out and moved a woman into a different apartment, but there was still some stuff that was going to get donated.
Uh-huh.
So she was showing me the model of the apartment, and the rest of the apartment felt good except when I got into the man's room, and I could feel my vibrations shift, and then we got back out to the doorway right by the front door, and I could feel it feels like there's a mini vortex. Doesn't feel very strong. Doesn't feel very big. So I told her, I said, "Well, when you get this all cleaned up," I said, "just, let me know and I'll come in and clear the house or clear the apartment." And I said, "If you want me to do that for, when people move out, just clear the energy," I said, "I think you'll find that the apartments will rent faster." So that's something that we're going to be looking into.
Oh, that's cool.
I should say we only have a few minutes left. I do want to say really quickly, we are having on next week Vicky Claire.
Vicky Claire, yeah.
Owner of the almost going out of business store.
Almost closed.
Almost closed. Well,
this Friday. She'll be closed this Friday.
Yeah, see, and I had the vision last week that all the stuff was going to be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what that means is that as of this Friday, I'm not going to have a place to do readings. But not to fear, I am going to be moving into a med spa on Rainbow and Russell. The Eldon Wellness Center, I think is what it is.
I don't know. It's the Eldon Building.
Eldon Building. And so I'll be doing some pranic healing there. You might even share some space with me if it
down
works
the road,
out, right?
Yep.
And so
after the last 2 days, I'm not promising nothing to nobody.
Right. So it's going to be a matter of getting all the licenses and stuff set up, but hopefully that will be by November 1st that I'll be able to go into that and have my own website, my own office. So this is really stepping into what I need to be stepping into.
Right.
So we'll just put it out there that my number, we might as well do this now, 702-204-7750 if you want a pranic healing or a reading. And but it's not going to be at Well of the Moon after Friday.
Nope.
So Vicky is going to come in next Tuesday.
Vicky Claire.
Vicky Claire. And she's going to tell us, she's probably going to update us on what her plans are.
Right, and talk about Halloween.
The Celtic
version of Halloween and how that all came about.
And how it's gotten a little bit twisted since it's come over from the Celts.
Yeah.
And it's very different in Ireland and in Scotland and in the Gaelic countries than it is here in America. And
yeah, it is.
And she's going to talk all about that. And so that's going to be next week on our show. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. This Sunday I'm at the Meadows. 29.
Oh, you are? Okay,
I'm
good.
the one this Sunday at the Meadows,
Good,
the
okay.
26th. It's 2900 South Valley View in their clubhouse.
Yep.
And it's by donation, and I'm going to talk about connecting with your higher teachers and crystal bowls. Crystal bowl meditation.
Oh,
yeah,
I love the
that's what we're
crystal
gonna
bowl
do that.
meditations.
Yeah,
Those are awesome.
So that's what we're going to do.
Those are awesome.
And I also, because I was teaching at Well of the Moon as well.
Right, I know you were.
So I've already gone out and talked. We just haven't set up the dates yet, but I've talked to Wayne Hildebrand, and he has a center called Spirit S, and he's a Reiki master, and it's by appointment, and he's got a small room there. It'll hold about 15 to 20 people.
So I could do meditations
You could do meditations there. It's on the east side. It's on 95 in Charleston.
Okay.
So that's good. Then I may be doing an additional meditation or an additional evening at the Meadows.
Okay, good.
Might be doing one of those.
Right,
yeah,
because we were
might one of
talking
those.
about adding that on.
Adding that on.
Right.
So things are shifting and changing for us as well as everybody else. And this last 2 weeks has been rock and roll. I mean, there's so many things that have been changing for people.
And I went down today to U.S. Vets locally here, so shout out to my veterans. That I went to go do the meditation, and they're completely redoing the room. They're redoing the garden. So Home Depot was there with a bunch of workers, and I have to say it was really cool. Home Depot donated.
Oh, that's great.
So they donated the workers, they donated the materials. So U.S. Vets is getting a facelift.
Right.
In the area that you and I would do the journeys and the meditations and the drum circles. So that's very exciting. Shout out to them. And we have Let's see. We have November to plan still.
Yep, we've got some things that we're doing,
Right.
so we'll let you know on that.
But Veterans Day falls on a Tuesday this year.
So hopefully we'll have some veterans.
I'm thinking maybe we go down to U.S. Vets earlier in the day. We take a little,
Oh, that'd be nice.
and we would do some. We record some interviews
That'd be
and
nice.
get
Yeah.
some of them on air.
So you've already given them your phone number?
Yes. So
Okay,
how do people
so
get in touch with you?
They get in touch with me. You can call me at 702-308-8464. Or you can go to my website, which is www, and I got a new website, same website, just different way to get there. It's called ElenaRistoHealer.com. Or you can get there by doing shamanicsong.com.
Or
But
or our Facebook page.
Facebook page, yes.
Our
We have-
Facebook page, Soul Chat. You can find Elena on there. You can
find
and
Jane
me
there.
on there.
The other thing is we'll be back at 7 o'clock or so
Yes,
tonight. We got to say
yes,
that.
Yes, we are joining Maxwell Silverhammer on the shit that irks me, Stim Radio.
Stim Radio.
So tune back in at 7
and
o'clock.
I have the perfect thing to talk about.
Yeah, we're
It's-
gonna. Yep.
It's the cone people.
Oh.
They just sent me on a tirade yesterday.
Oh, well, you had a rough day yesterday.
It was a tough day.
I do want to say also that we are, again, being sponsored by Synergy Holistic Health. So please check out that website, Synergy, SYNERGY, holistichealth.net. And if you want to get in touch with Cheyenne Foster, her number is 702-580-4343. And her email is Synergy, SYNERGY, holistichealth@hotmail.com.
And if there's anybody out there that would love to sponsor the show,
Yep.
get in touch with us because we'll be glad to talk about whatever you do, and we want to keep going with this. We've got a lot of response, from good response from people. And our goal is, if we have a mission, it's to connect the alternative energy healing field so that we're all working towards the same goal.
Yes,
You
and
know?
we definitely want everybody to have a safe. Well, we'll be back before Halloween because we're going to be discussing Halloween next week.
I hope so.
Yeah. So how are you dressing up this year?
Oh, I think this is it.
You're going as a shamanic healer.
I'm going as myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went one year with a lampshade on my head. That was kind of fun.
See, I really liked
There
your
was
idea
little
about me
alcohol
going.
involved, though, several years ago.
I really liked your idea about me going as the lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that, but if I'm going to head up to Bonnie Springs for Halloween, it's going to be a little chilly up there, so
Yeah.
probably not the
No
time
kidding.
to dress up.
No kidding. So with that, we're going to leave you. Have a great week.
So tune in to us next week when we have Vicki Clare from Well of the Moon talking about the origins of Halloween.
And come back at 7 o'clock.
Right,
You
we'll
can
be
listen
here.
to us banter with Maxwell Silverhammer.
Yep.
You know?
I'm Jane McGuire,
I'm Elena Risto.
and we'll talk to you in a couple of hours.
See you.
Here I am, standing at the door, looking back at life as it's been before.